Hello, all, and welcome to the second part of Customs Duty Decoded. It's been a long time since this video was made and presented because we had a heavy duty on creating awareness as far as NEP is concerned. So let's get down to this particular topic, that is Customs Duty Decoded Part 2. Now, what are the contents that we are going to cover in this particular session? We are going to cover a lot, I should say. We are going to cover types of customs duty, basis for determination of customs duty, computation of assessable value, what is the format for computation of assessable value, format for computation of customs duty, a few examples, and problem solving. Now, by the look of it, I believe I need to take up another session, that is part 3 of this, where I can solve comprehensive problems on customs duty. So let's begin with the types of customs duty. Now, there are various types of customs duty that we are going to come across. I have put together all these in the form of pictures. We have basic customs duty. What does that mean? We will discuss. Then we talk about integrated GST. Because of GST coming into, how much impact or what kind of impact GST has had on customs duty. Then we talk about the national calamity contingent duty. Then we have the countervailing duty. Then we talk about social welfare surcharge, safeguard duty, product specific safeguard duty for imports from China, countervailing duty on subsidized goods, re-importation duty, anti-dumping duty. Then we have GST compensation cess. Now, these are some very, very important points that we cover under the types of customs duty. Let's understand each of these in detail. Let's look at basic customs duty. What does that mean? When the goods are being imported from a foreign country, when goods are being imported into India, it becomes a duty of the importer to pay tax. But we don't use the word tax when it comes to customs. We use the word duty. So normal duties levied on the goods imported is called as basic customs duty. Now there are different rates that prevail for different products. The general rate of basic customs duty is 10%. So in the problem, it will be given what is the rate of customs duty. So that rate can be taken, considered, and you can calculate the basic customs duty value. Next is IGST, that is Integrated Goods and Service Tax. One basic thing that we need to understand is when goods are imported under GST, it is treated as an interstate supply. And as far as interstate supply is concerned, we levy IGST. Now, very important and interesting point under imports into India is the supplier need not be registered under GST. Hence, it becomes compulsory that the importer pays GST under reverse charge mechanism basis. So the importer is going to pay IGST to the government, that is to the central government, under reverse charge mechanism basis. So IGST is levied on imports, and imports are treated as interstate supply as far as GST is concerned. Now, because of IGST coming into being, it has subsumed the CVD. CVD stands for countervailing duty, and SAD stands for special additional duty as applicable in the previous regime. So very important, we have to understand IGST has come in, and CVD, that is countervailing duty, and special additional duty has been subsumed in the making of GST, which was leviable under the earlier regime. But one important thing is countervailing duty still continues to haunt, I should say, still continues to appear when we are solving problems on customs duty, for the simple reason is on goods which are not under the purview of GST. We will talk about that. So that's about IGST. So imports into India is treated on par as interstate supply, and IGST will be leviable at the normal rates prevailing in the country for such products imported into India. Then we have NCCD, that stands for National Calamity Contingent Duty. It is levied on the imports of chewing tobacco, cigarettes, pan masala, motor cars, multi-utility vehicles, two-wheelers, and crude oil. We have to understand very, very important point. Suppose in the examination, a problem is given, an NCCD is given. And if that particular product imported doesn't fall in this list of NCCD leviable items, NCCD need not be levied, because items on which NCCD is levied are very, very specific. You can see those items on the screen: chewing tobacco, cigarettes, pan masala, motor cars, MUV, two-wheelers, and crude oil. So chewing tobacco, cigarettes, pan masala are sin goods or demerit goods, you can say. Motor cars imported from foreign country. Similarly, multi-utility vehicles, two-wheelers, and definitely crude oil. So crude oil, pan masala, chewing tobacco, cigarettes does not form a part of GST. But motor cars, two-wheelers, definitely yes, it forms a part of GST. So NCCD is levied only if the goods are specific and those specific items are NCCD leviable. That's about the National Calamity Contingent Duty. Next, I just mentioned about countervailing duty. Now, when will countervailing duty be levied as far as customs is concerned? Very important. It will be levied only on those items which are not chargeable under GST, and if those items are imported into India. So it is levied on import of chewing tobacco, cigarettes, pan masala, tobacco products, and petroleum products. So if you see the list of all these items don't come under the purview of GST at all. Since they don't come under the purview of GST, countervailing duty is levied. Almost all the items which come under GST, countervailing duty is not levied, because IGST has replaced countervailing duty as well as the special additional duty. Now, countervailing duty is leviable if the products are specific as mentioned on the screen, and all these items are not GST-able. They are not taxable under GST. So only on those items countervailing duty is leviable. Then from time to time, the government is going to announce a safeguard duty through notification. So if the central government feels that the import of certain article will cause injury to the domestic industry. See, one of the basic objectives of customs duty is to protect, is to nurture, to control, to promote domestic industry. It is very, very important that the government keeps track of this. And whenever the government feels that if these items are imported into India, the government, through a safeguard mechanism, through notification, will levy customs duty or safeguard duty on such items. So if the central government feels that the import of certain article will cause injury, then safeguard duty will be levied by a notification. Any duty levied by a notification is a temporary action initiated by the government. So temporary, by notification, maybe for a period of 15 days, maybe for a period of 1 month, safeguard duty will be levied. As soon as that 1 month period, the cooling period is over, safeguard duty will be withdrawn as far as import of such goods are concerned. Next, we have product specific safeguard duty on imports from China. China is the factory of the world. So almost all companies, multinational companies, are operating from China. So they are able to produce at comparatively lesser price because of the subsidy made available by the government of China. So once again, if there is a certain item imported from China, and if the government feels that it is going to damage or have an adverse effect on the activities or sales or turnover of domestic industry, once again through a notification, the government would levy safeguard duty. That is for specific imports from China. So if it is imported at a significantly lower price, so that the domestic industry doesn't suffer, an equilibrium is maintained as far as price is concerned, product specific safeguard duty on imports from China is levied. Then we have countervailing duty on subsidized goods. So sometimes the goods are imported into India at a very lesser price, at a subsidized price, at a reduced price. So once again, central government through notification can impose this duty on an amount not exceeding the amount of such subsidy. Suppose in Indian currency conversion, a 60,000 rupees worth item has been imported into India, let's say at 48,000 rupees. Then the government through notification will levy countervailing duty of 12,000 rupees because it is on subsidy that the goods have been imported into India. So whatever is the amount of subsidy given, that amount will be the countervailing duty. So through notification, the central government can impose this duty not exceeding the amount of such subsidy. Then we have re-importation duty. Goods which are exported out of India, again re-imported into India, will be taxable in a normal circumstance. So initially goods are manufactured and exported out of India. Same goods are thereafter imported into India. Such goods in a normal circumstance will be levied re-importation duty. So goods are imported into India after its exports from India will be taxable in the normal circumstance. The next interesting is anti-dumping duty. What do you mean by dumping? A certain country, due to some reason or the other, due to some favorable condition, has been able to manufacture a particular kinds of good at a comparatively lesser price and in significantly large quantity. Possibly such a country will first look at self-sufficiency of the country, and after that, it will decide that they will sell it, export it to other countries at comparatively lesser price at the cost of production, or at a little bit of profit over the cost of production. So one country, due to significantly higher quantity of production, is going to dump the goods in another country. So if it is dumped into India, once again the government through notification will levy customs duty, or in that will levy anti-dumping duty not exceeding the amount of such margin. So if any article is dumped into India, once again to protect the domestic industry, the government will take action and levy anti-dumping duty so that the prices are equalized. So prices come to an equilibrium and domestic industry does not suffer due to the action of another country. Then we have GST compensation cess. This is very, very important. Now, once again, this is very product specific. It is applicable on sin goods or demerit goods or luxury goods. So the purpose of charging GST on luxury goods like high-end cars, you can say high-end watches, then sin goods or demerit goods like tobacco, pan masala, and aerated drinks. A compensation cess will be levied for a period of 5 years to compensate for the loss of revenue due to such imports. These goods are manufactured in India, produced in India. But if an importer is importing a high-end car or tobacco and related products from a foreign country, which is anyway available in India, they are liable to pay GST compensation cess. Because due to the action of the importer, suppose for example, I am importing a car, say high-end car, that means one car manufactured in India will remain unsold because a car has been imported, a high-end car. Similarly, to do with the tobacco-related products, pan masala, all these are available in India. But if it is imported on such products, sin goods or demerit goods, GST compensation cess has to be levied to compensate the loss of revenue due to such imports. Now, very important point, which I will be repeating once again when we come to problem solving, and that is the concerned importer is liable to pay IGST. Now, IGST paid shall not be included in the value for the computation of compensation cess. We have to understand this. IGST paid will not form a part of the value for calculating compensation cess. So we'll understand the relevance of the statement when we come to problem solving. Next, we have social welfare surcharge. This is the addition which was done just 3 years back, social welfare surcharge. It is levied at 10% on the aggregate of all duties of customs except special duties, IGST and compensation cess. That means when you're solving problems on the valuation of customs duty, social welfare surcharge will be right up there in the center. After social welfare surcharge, we will have items like special duties, like your anti-dumping duty, protective duty, safeguard duty, re-importation duty, all will come below social welfare surcharge. And at the end, we will have IGST and we'll have compensation cess. All these, on all these numbers, social welfare surcharge is not leviable. It is levied at 10% on the aggregates of all the duties of customs, except special duties, IGST and compensation cess. Then we have road and infrastructure cess of ₹10 per liter of motor spirit, which we commonly call it as petrol, and high speed diesel imported. So ₹10 per liter for road and infrastructure cess. Now, let's move to the next concept. What is the basis for determination of customs duty? There are two very important criteria that we have as far as customs duty valuation is concerned. One is the ad valorem duty and the second one is specific duty. Ad valorem, as the name suggests, means add value. We have a manufacturer, we have a wholesaler, we have a retailer, we have a customer. As the goods are moving from one party's hands to another, we understand the value of the goods enhances. The value means the relevance or the importance of the goods increases. So as we proceed further, when the goods are imported from importer's country to my country, if I am an importer from the exporter's country to my country, the value or the relevance of goods to the importer is more. So whatever price that I am paying, that price will form the basis for the valuation of customs duty. So when the duty is levied on the basis of the value of goods, it is referred to as ad valorem duty. Now, when it comes to specific duty, there are some very important points. The valuation of goods will be based on the length. For example, cigarettes, we say a small, then we say the thickness, weight, volume, all these will be the criteria for the levy of duty. So when the duty is levied on the basis of measurement of goods, it is referred to as specific duty. It can be on the basis of the length of the product, the weight of the product, the volume of the product, the thickness of the product, etc. So specific criteria is considered for the levy of customs duty. That's why it is called as a specific duty. When simply the valuation is done on the price, that is called as ad valorem duty, because there is value addition as the goods are moving from one party's hand, that is from exporter's hand to importer's hand. When it comes to specific duty, specific feature of that particular product, it can be the length, it can be the weight, it can be the volume, it can be the thickness, or any other criteria that we can imagine. So more so in the valuation of customs duty, we make use of this particular aspect, that is ad valorem duty for all our calculation. Next, computation of assessable value. Now here we come across 7 very, very important terminology as far as a computation of assessable value is concerned. Now, following expenses are to be included in the price of the goods. Now, let's understand which are those 7 items. Commission other than buying commission is one criteria. Then we have packing cost, value of goods and services provided by the importer, royalty and license fees payable in relation to the imported goods. Then we talk about share in the sale price of the imported goods payable to the exporter, either directly or indirectly. Then the last 2 very important ones, that is cost of transport and loading up to the place of importation. And finally, we have the cost of insurance. So we need to understand each of the 7 points to find the assessable value. So let's look at each of the items one by one. Let's look at commission other than buying commission. Now, what is this commission other than buying commission? What is this buying commission? We need to understand. Buying commission is the commission paid by the importer to his agent abroad or based in a foreign country for determining the price of the goods. So if the importer is paying buying commission, that buying commission amount will not form a part of assessable value. See, it's very clearly given commission other than buying commission. That means buying commission will not form a part of assessable value. Let's be very, very clear about it. Other commission which the importer will pay to other agents is included as far as assessable value is concerned. Now, as far as packing cost is concerned, packing cost in a normal circumstance are all included in the valuation or computation of assessable value, but returnable containers are not to be included. If the cost of returnable containers are included in the value of the packaging cost, then those are to be excluded. So it includes cost of container, value of other packing materials, and labor charges. Returnable containers are not to be considered here. Returnable containers, if it is included, must be excluded. That will not form a part of packing cost, and in turn, it will not form a part of assessable value. So non-returnable containers value only will be included in the cost of packing. Next is value of goods and services provided by the importer. If I am an importer, I expect a quality good. I expect goods as per my specification. So sometimes as an importer, I will supply goods. I will supply raw material. I will supply material to the exporter and convince the exporter to make use of this in the manufacture of goods, which will be sold to me. So sometimes the importer will supply material, importer will supply, say, goods, importer will provide services free of cost or at a reasonable price. So the importer, if the importer has provided items like materials, parts, tools, goods used in production of imported goods, expenses incurred outside India. This term is very, very important. Expenses incurred outside India on the design and development of the product, either free of cost or at a subsidized rate, then the reasonable price of such inputs must be added or included in the computation of assessable value. So if the importer is providing materials and also incurring expenses outside India on design and development, then either it is made available free of cost or at a subsidized rate, then reasonable price must be included. The reasoning: if the importer doesn't provide, definitely the exporter would have had to purchase it. That's why, since the exporter, instead of purchasing, is getting it from the importer, the reasonable value of such items must be included in the computation of assessable value. Royalty and license fees payable in relation to imported goods. Today we talk about patenting. Today we talk about copyrights. Today we talk about the complete control on the sale of the product worldwide on the basis of patents and copyrights. So if the goods are imported into India, and apart from that, if the exporter requires the permission of the importer to sell such products in India, then sometimes the exporter will be liable to pay royalty or license fees. If such payment is made, then that payment must be included in the computation of assessable value. So royalty and license fee payable is in relation to the imported goods, must be included in the FOB, that is free on board value. We will talk about this concept of free on board value. It includes payment in respect of patents, trademarks, or copyrights. However, it should not include the payment for the right to reproduce the goods in India, or the charges for the right to redistribute or resell the imported goods. So if the amount is paid for reproducing the goods in India, manufacturing the goods in India, distributing the goods in India, then such amount should not be included, because it is a single payment made, and after that the exporter can do it at his or her own will. So payment is not required. But other than that, if for selling, if royalty and license fees is payable to the importer, then such value must be included in the computation of assessable value. Sometimes an agreement between the importer and the exporter, the pricing of the goods on exports or imports from the importer's point of view is shown less in the bill of entry, and they have entered into an agreement that the certain percentage of the sale price must be shared by the importer with the exporter. If there is any condition of that kind, then the amount payable to the exporter either directly or indirectly. That is, if any part of the proceeds from subsequent resale of the imported goods is payable to the exporter, its value should be included in assessable value, because customs duty levied is less. So at that time, whatever is the portion of the sale price that the exporter has to transfer or provide to the importer has to provide it to the exporter, such value will be included in the assessable value. If portion of the profits, if portion of the sale price is to be shared with the exporter, then such value must be included in the computation of assessable value. Next, we talk about two very, very important terms, that is cost of transport and loading up to the place of importation. Very important, we need to understand. From the exporter's port to the importer's port, whatever is the loading charges, whatever is the transportation charges, such values must be included up to the place of importation. Once the goods reaches the port of the importer, expenses incurred thereafter. Say, for example, the exporters go down, importers go down, let's say is in Bengaluru. Goods are imported through water, through sea, let's say, and it has reached Mangalore port. So expenses incurred till Mangalore port will be included in the computation of assessable value. But now, after the goods are released from the customs authority at Mangalore port, if the goods are to be transported, say, from Mangalore to Bangalore, which is nearly 350 kilometers, such cost of transportation internally, once the goods reaches, foreign goods reaches the port of the importer, is not to be included in the assessable value. So expenses of transport and loading up to the importer's port only must be included in the computation of assessable value. Now, if the cost of import transportation is not known, if it is given, we will take that value. If it is not given, it will be deemed to be 20% of the FOB value. This is more so in case of sea or water land transport, because India's exports may be, with the Nepal, with Bangladesh. So not necessarily required through waterways, or you can say airways. Even through transport or through railways, the goods can be imported into India. And if the cost of transportation is given, we will take that value. If the cost of transportation is not given, then we will take 20% of the FOB value. What is this free on board value? We will understand that. Now, if the goods are transported through air, this is air transport specific, then even though the amount is given, actual cost is given, we will compare that with 20% of FOB value, free on board value. Among the two, whichever is lower will be taken as the cost of transport. So let's understand. If it is foreign trade, imports either through roadways or railways or waterways, let's be very clear. If the transportation cost is given, we take that value. If it is not given, we simply take 20% of the FOB value. Now, if the goods are transported through air, when actual cost is given, we are going to compare the actual cost with 20% of FOB value, and among the two, whichever is lower. This comparison has to be done compulsorily, and the lower of the two values will be taken as the cost of transport. I hope this point is clear. Then we have the seventh and the last concept, that is cost of insurance. So if the cost of insurance from the exporter's port to the importer's port only. In the earlier example, I said if the goods are moving from Mangalore to Bangalore, whatever is the cost of transport, whatever is the insurance against any undesirable event happening, such cost of insurance internally, once the good reaches the importer's port, is not to be included in the computation of assessable value. Only insurance till the place of importer's port. That's all. Now, very important point, if the cost of insurance is given, we take that value. If the cost of insurance is not given, we take 1.125% of the FOB value. So insurance cost incurred up to the place of importation only. If the cost of insurance is not known, if it is known, we will take that value. If it is not known, only then we will take 1.125% of the free on board value. So these are about the 7 items that makes up for the assessable value. Now we'll be looking at the format of computation of assessable value. But before that, once again, very, very important point. Cost of transportation and loading till the place of importation. Cost of insurance till the place of importation only. Very important point. This insurance may be taken either from a foreign company or an Indian company. You might have paid in foreign currency or in Indian currency. That will form a part of assessable value. But insurance taken from once the goods reaches the place of importation to the go down of the exporter, such insurance cost is not to be included in the assessable value. So even if, say, suppose if I'm importing goods from London port, let's say to Mangalore port, I might have taken an Indian insurance company to, to provide me insurance in case of any kind of losses that happens. So whether I pay in, say, in pound sterling or whether I pay in Indian currency rupees, it does not matter. That will form a part of assessable value. Next, we look at format for computation of assessable value. So this is how 7 items will be included. We start with purchase price of the goods. So that will be taken first. Then we add commission other than buying commission. So as I mentioned, buying commission will not be included. Other than buying commission, all other commission will be added. Cost of packaging, excluding returnable container cost, returnable packaging cost. Cost of material or services provided by the importer. Royalty and license fees paid. Share in the sale price to the exporter. So these are the 5 items that will be added. When you add to the purchase price, we arrive at a value, and this is called as free on board value of goods. And I name this as letter A. Name this as letter A. So free on board, FOB, value of goods. Free on board value of goods. Then we add transportation and landing cost. In case of road transport, in case of sea transport, it is 20% of the FOB value if not given. Simple point. If not given. If it is given, we simply take that value. In case of road transport, in case of water transport. But in case of air transport, even though the value is given, we compare 20% of FOB value or the actual amount paid among the two, whichever is less. Whichever is less, that value will be taken. Whichever is less, that value will be taken. And then we add the cost of insurance, which is 1.125% of FOB value, if not given. If it is given, we simply take the cost of insurance. If it is not given, only then we take 1.125% of this value, free on board value. And we add up A, B, C. This value, and this value put together will be taken as assessable value. So this is the format for computation of assessable value. Then we talk about computation of customs duty. We have heard various kinds of duties, basic customs duty. We spoke about IGST. Then we have countervailing duty. We have NCCD, social welfare surcharge, safeguard duty, product specific imports from China, safeguard duty on such, re-importation duty, GST compensation says. How it will be placed in this particular format, it is very, very important for everyone to understand. So I prepare 2 amount columns. First is the amount for levy and the duty payable. I record assessable value. This is where we have got the assessable value, the computation of assessable value. This value, which is there in red, will be the starting point in the inner column. It will be the starting point in the inner column as far as amount for levy is concerned. So assessable value will be recorded here. Now to assessable value, we are going to add basic customs duty on assessable value. Basic customs duty rate will be specified. So on this particular value, maybe 10%, maybe 20, maybe 35. There are different rates for different products. So you are going to calculate. Same basic customs duty, just this value will be recorded in the outer column. It is not the total, just the basic customs duty value will be repeated in both the columns, in the inner column as well as outer column. In the meantime, we are going to add assessable value to basic customs duty. We arrive at this number. I call this as small a. So this A value, small a value, is the sum of assessable value plus basic customs duty. Then we are going to add NCCD. I have been very clear. NCCD is applicable only on specific goods. Goods which are not under the purview of GST, motor car, multi-utility vehicles. So these are a few items on which NCCD will be levied. And NCCD is levied on the value A, that is on this value, that is assessable value plus BCD. This is A, point A. So it will be levied at the rate specified. Then we add NCCD to this point A, we arrive at B, and same NCCD value will be recorded in the outer column. This is same number. National Calamity Contingent Duty will be recorded in the outer column also. In the meantime, we add the letter A, the value A with NCCD, we arrive at a letter B. This is assessable value plus BCD, basic customs duty, plus NCCD put together. And on this value, that is B, we are going to levy countervailing duty. And once again, I remind, countervailing duty will be levied on specific products which are not under the purview of GST at all. Suppose in the examination, a problem is given, say hair oil, and it is specified countervailing duty, NCCD, very clearly NCCD and countervailing duty are not leviable on hair oil. So a student can just provide a note and say that this product is not NCCD or CVD leviable. CVD is leviable only on those items which are not under the purview of GST. Let's be very, very clear. Which are not under the purview of GST. So that value to given rate on this let value B. So it will be calculated. So similarly, this countervailing duty will be written in the outer column. And we are going to total all the duties, the basic customs duty, the national calamity contingent duty, and we have the countervailing duty. This total duties, I name it as capital A. Then on this value, we are going to add social welfare surcharge at 10%. This is a fixed rate on A. That is on this value, BCD, NCCD, CVD. We are going to calculate 10% social welfare surcharge. Then all the special duties like safeguard duty, protective duty, anti-dumping duty, re-importation duty, all these will be appear after social welfare surcharge. And safeguard duty, if the amount is given, we will take the amount. If just the percentage is given, then it is always calculated on the assessable value, safeguard duty on assessable value. Similarly, protective duty, if the amount is given, we will take that amount. If the amount is not given, percentage is given, we will always take it on the assessable value. Similarly, anti-dumping duty, always the rate will be given. The amount will be given. Again, if the amount is not given, anti-dumping duty will also be levied on assessable value. So all these special duties will be added together. Special items will be added over here and will take total duties, including special duties, that is letter B, capital B. So this is value B, very, very important now. After all special duties are added, we will add integrated goods and service tax, IGST. Now, very important, IGST is levied on the sum of two items, that is assessable value plus the letter B, the value as we have got under B. So assessable value plus B into the IGST rate. So IGST rate definitely will be specified in the problem. It can range anywhere between 5% to 28%. So that rate will become applicable. So it is calculated on the sum of assessable value plus the value B and multiplied with the IGST rate. So this is the IGST amount that we will have. And next we talk about the last item, that is compensation cess. Like IGST, compensation cess will also be levied on the same value, that is assessable value plus B. So important point is when you are calculating compensation cess, IGST amount will not be included. On what value is IGST calculated? On the same value, compensation cess will also be levied. CC stands for compensation cess rate, that will become applicable. So you add B, you add IGST, you add compensation cess, you arrive at what is called as total customs duty payable. We arrive at total customs duty payable. So then after this, we go ahead and solve before that, the points to be noted, important, as I just mentioned, IGST paid will not be included in the value for computing compensation cess. We just saw this application. IGST paid will not be included in the computation of compensation cess. So this is one application that we have seen. Second, as I mentioned, NCCD and CVD, countervailing duty, will be applicable only for goods which are in the list provided, and the specific duty as applicable on it. NCCD and CVD are not applicable on all items. It is applicable only on specific item. If the name of the product is mentioned, and if that product falls in the list of NCCD leviable and CVD, only then it is to be calculated. Otherwise, NCCD and CVD can be skipped, because such products which are not in the list are not NCCD-able or CVD-able, you can say. Coming on to very important point, I can say this is the critical slide that every student should understand as far as customs duty is concerned. Now, when we talk about customs duty, there is foreign currency involved. And when we say foreign currency is involved, customs duty will be paid in Indian rupees, in Indian currency. So currency conversion becomes a very important factor in problem solving as far as customs duty is concerned. Now, what will be the date for determination of exchange rate for the valuation of imported goods? Very important. The conversion of foreign currency into Indian currency shall be done at the rate of exchange prevailing on the date of presentation of bill of entry. So when the importer is presenting the bill of entry, you know what is bill of entry? Bill of entry is a document entitled to the imported goods. Exporter will send a bill of entry to the importer. Once the goods reaches the importer's port, this document, bill of entry, will be presented by the importer to the customs authorities and get the goods released. That's why we say bill of entry is a document entitled to goods. So when the bill of entry is handed over to the customs authority and customs duty has been paid, then the importer becomes eligible to take delivery of such imported goods. So when is the importer presenting the bill of entry to the customs authority? So the date of presentation of the bill of entry, on that date, what is the conversion rate? What is the currency conversion rate? That value will be taken. And for conversion, the amount as specified or declared by the CBIC. CBIC stands for Central Board of Indirect Tax and Customs. So the value specified by the CBIC, Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs, that will be taken, and the value that will be taken will be the value of conversion on the date of presentation of bill of entry. We will take an example for that. Second very important thing is, what is the rate for determination of the rate of duty? This was just the exchange rate, currency conversion. This is the rate of duty on the value of goods imported. Now, what that is, we are talking about the basic customs duty rate. Now, the rate of duty applicable for imported goods shall be the rate of duty as on the date of presentation of bill of entry. Same thing, date of presentation of bill of entry, or the date of arrival of the vessel, date of arrival of the ship, or date of arrival of the aeroplane or the aircraft. So date of arrival of the vessel or date of arrival of the aircraft, whichever is later, whichever is latest. So which is the last thing that has happened, that date will be considered to identify the rate of duty on the goods imported. Let's understand this with the help of an example. Say date of presentation of the bill of entry is 18th of August. And on 18th of August, the basic customs duty rate is 20% and the exchange rate is $1 equal to rupees 75.50. Date of arrival of the vessel is 23rd of August. Basic customs duty rate is 22% and the exchange rate is $1 equal to 77. So there is a difference in basic customs duty rate. There is a difference in currency conversion also in between 18th August and 23rd August. So now if you have to find out what will be the currency conversion rate as specified over here, the rate of exchange prevailing on the date of presentation of bill of entry. So date of presentation of bill of entry is 18th August. And the exchange rate is $1 equal to rupees 75.50. So here Exchange rate will be taken as on the date of presentation of bill of entry, that is on 18th August, and conversion rate will be rupees 75.50 per dollar in our example, per dollar. Second part is, what about the rate of duty? What about the rate of duty? It will be either the date of presentation of the bill of entry, that is 18th of August, or the date of arrival of the vessel or aircraft, whichever is later. The latest is 23rd August. So on 23rd August, the BCD rate is 22%, and that rate will become applicable. So BCD rate will be taken as on the date of arrival of the vessel, that is 23rd of August, and the rate is 22% and not 20%. 20% was on the date of presentation of bill of entry. But since it is the latest date that we take and the date of arrival of vessel is 23rd August, so the rate of duty on such goods, because sometimes the rates are very flexible, it keeps changing. So at that time, the rate on the date of arrival of the vessel will be considered as far as rate of basic customs duty is concerned. So I hope this concept of what will be the currency value conversion, which date has to be taken, who is the authority whose value will be taken for currency conversion, CBIC, Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs, their conversion amount will be taken, and date of presentation of bill of entry, whatever is the value conversion rate, that will be used for calculation of customs duty. Let's look at an example. First, we will look at how to solve problems on customs duty specific. From the following, calculate customs duty payable. Assessable value of imported goods is 3 lakh rupees. Assessable value is readily given. Basic customs duty is 37.5%. The general rate, as I mentioned, is 10%. And for all the other goods, the rates may vary. Anti-dumping duty at 12%. IGST amounts to 28% and compensation cess at 60%. Let's look at this example. So as I mentioned, first I will write assessable value in the inner column. So I record 3 lakh rupees as assessable value. Then to this, I'm going to add basic customs duty. Basic customs duty is 37.5% of assessable value, 3 lakh rupees. So 37.5% of 3 lakh rupees is 1,12,500. Same basic customs duty will be written in the outer column. So I will just total this, you get 4,12,500. Now in this problem, NCCD, CVD is not given. Since it is not given, we don't have to worry about it at all. So we directly go to social welfare surcharge. And as we understand, social welfare surcharge, a fixed rate of 10%, and this 10% will be calculated on this value. That is 1,12,500 rupees. That is the letter A in that format which I had said, total duties, and total duty value is 1,12,000. So 10% of 1,12,500 will be 11,250. So you'll get total duty A 1,23,750. Then we will have additional duties or special duties. We have anti-dumping duty at 12%. So as I mentioned, if the rate is given, it is always calculated on the assessable value. If the amount is given, simply you will take the amount and record it. So assessable value is 3 lakh, anti-dumping duty is 12%. So 12% of 3 lakh is 36,000. So I get 1,59,750. There are no other special duties. So this itself is total duties, including special duty, and we call this as B. Next, we have IGST amount to 28%. So IGST at 28% of assessable value plus B. Assessable value is 3 lakh rupees. B value is 1,59,750. So on 4,59,750, we will calculate 28%, which works out to 1,28,730. And last, we have compensation cess at 60%. Now this 60% will once again be calculated on this value itself. So 3 lakh, that is assessable value, 3 lakh plus B value, 1,59,750. Compensation cess IGST amount will not be taken. We have already discussed it. So on 4,59,750 at 60%, that is the rate of compensation cess. So it will be 2,75,850. And we are going to add from B. 1,59,750, 1,28,730, 2,75,850. We will get total customs duty payable 5,64,330. That will be the value. So this is how we are going to calculate customs duty. Now what we will do is we will solve a similar problem. We will solve a similar problem. We have assessable value of say rupees 25 lakh. Assessable value of rupees 25 lakh. Basic customs duty is 37.5% we have. Safeguard duty, as mentioned, is 10%. IGST is 28%. Compensation is 60%. Compute customs duty payable. So first I will record assessable value. So I will record assessable value right here. It is 25 lakh. Then I'm going to add basic customs duty. Now, as far as basic customs duty is concerned, the rate is 37%. So 25 lakh into 37.5%. 25 lakh into 25 lakh into 37.5% will be 9 lakh 37,500. I will record the same number in the outer column, 9 lakh 37,500. So basic customs duty is written in the outer column. Then NCCD and CVD is not given in the problem, so let's not worry about it. So I will simply total this as 9 lakh 37,500. 9 lakh 37,500 will be the total. So this value becomes irrelevant now. 25 plus 9 is 34 lakh 37,500. So this value becomes irrelevant. Actually, we need not record this value at all. So this value need not be recorded at all. So 37 lakh 37,500. That is the value that we have. So let's not record that particular value. So we'll go along only with this total of 9,37,500. Then we have social welfare surcharge at 10%. 10% actually of BCD, NCCD and CVD. Now we have only BCD total over here. So it is 9,37,500 into 10%. Which will work out to 93,750. So I record 93,750, 10% of that. So total of 9,37,500 plus 93,750 will be 10,31,250. So 10,31,250 will be the value. Then it's given safeguard duty at 10%. The rate is given. So when the rate is given at 10%, always calculated on the assessable value. Assessable value is 25 lakh into 10%. So that will work out to 2,50,000. 2,50,000 will be the value. So total of this 10,31,250 plus 2,50,000 will be 12,81,250. 12,81,250 will be the value. Then we have IGST. IGST given is 28%. And IGST will be levied at 28% on assessable value plus the value B. Assessable value plus B. So it will be assessable value is 25 lakh. 25 lakh plus B value is 12,81,250. So I close the bracket into the IGST rate given is 28%. Is given 28%. So first we will just total this value. 25 lakh plus 12,81,250. It will be 37,81,250 into 28% will be 10,58,750. 10,58,750. That will be IGST amount on the value of assessable value plus B. Assessable value plus B. Similarly, compensation cess is levied. It's given compensation cess at 60% is given. So again, we take 60% on assessable value plus B. We have already calculated assessable value plus B. So we will take it over here. It will be 25 lakh, which is the assessable value, plus B value is 12 lakh 81,250 into 60%. That is the compensation cess value. So 25 lakh plus 12 lakh 81,250 is 37 lakh 81,250 into 60%. That will be 22 lakh 68,750. 22 lakh 68,750. So when I add up all these numbers, 12 lakh 81,250, 10 lakh 58,750 and 22 lakh 68,750. I'll just do the addition. 12 lakh 81,250 will give you 46 lakh 8,750. 46 lakh 8,750. So that is how we are going to calculate the total customs duty. So I hope this problem is clear. That is on simple problem on computation of customs duty payable. So this is how it will take. Now we'll take a small comprehensive problem on all the aspects, NCCD, CVD including. Let's look at this particular example. From the following, calculate the customs duty payable. Assessable value of imported goods is 12 lakh. Basic customs duty at 35%. NCCD is 15%. CVD at 20%. Safeguard duty at 10%. IGST amounts to 28% and compensation says 60%. So this particular problem contains everything. So let's look at the solution of this particular problem. That is computation of customs duty payable. So as usual, I'm going to record assessable value, that is 12 lakh rupees. Basic customs duty at 35%. 35% of 12 lakh is 4,20,000. So I record the same 4,20,000 in the outer column. In the meantime, I add this assessable value plus BCD. It is 16,20,000. I call this as small a. Then NCCD at 15% is given. It is always calculated on this value, a value. So 15% of 16,20,000. That will make up for 2,43,000. I record the same NCCD value in the outer column. That is 2,43,000. Then I add up this. It comes to 18,63,000. I name this as B. This was there in the original format. I name this as B. Then there is countervailing duty at 20%. So 20% is always calculated on the B value. 18,63,000. And 20% of that is 3,72,600. So I take 3,72,600 in the outer column. That is the countervailing duty. So 4,20,000 is BCD. 2,43,000 is national calamity contingent duty. 3,72,600 is the countervailing duty. So I add up all these numbers. I arrive at 10,35,600. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9,70,000, 10 lakh 10, 10 lakh 30, 33, 34, 35. So 10,35,600 is the value. Then I add social welfare surcharge. This is calculated at 10% on the aggregate of BCD, NCCD and CVD. So 10,35,600, 10% of that is 1,03,560. So when I add up, I get the letter A, that is total duties, 11,39,160. Remember, social welfare surcharge need not be given. It is automatically added. So I get 11,39,160. Then in the problem, it's given safeguard duty. These are some special duties and 10% is given. Since percent is given, 10% will be calculated on the assessable value. So 12 lakh into 10% is 1,20,000. No other special duty. So I add up, I get 12,59,160. 12,59,160. So that is B. Next is IGST at 28%. And then we are aware IGST is calculated on assessable value, that is 12 lakh plus B value. B value is 12,59,160. So on 24,59,160, you'll calculate 20%, you get 6,88,565. That is the value. Then we will look at add compensation cess. Compensation cess is levied at 60%. And once again, the value is same what we have taken for computation of assessable value. That is 24,59,160. Calculated at 60%, which is the compensation cess rate, you get 14,75,496. So when I add up this B, IGST and the compensation cess, I get 34,23,221. That will be the total customs duty payable. So I hope this comprehensive problem on customs duty is very, very clear. Now let's take an example where we will solve this particular problem. We will solve this particular problem. We have a problem right here, and we will try solving this particular problem. From the following, calculate the customs duty payable. Assessable value of imported goods is 15 lakh. Basic customs duty at 30%, NCCD at 25%, CVD at 30%. Then we have safeguard duty at 15%, IGST amounts to 28%, and compensation cess at 65%. So let's solve this particular problem. Assessable value is given to us. So I record 15 lakh. Then we add basic customs duty. Now, as far as basic customs duty is concerned, it is given very clearly. Basic customs duty in this problem is levied at 30% on assessable value. So I will take 15 lakh. 15 lakh into 30%. So it will be 4,50,000. 4,50,000 will be the value. So I record the same number, 4,50,000 in the outer column. And I total this. I get 19,50,000 as the number. I call this as letter A, that is small a. I will call this as A. 19,50,000 as the value. Then there is NCCD to be levied at 25%. NCCD at 25% on I write A. On A. So let's calculate. A value is 19,50,000 into 25%. So I take 19,50,000 into 25%. Will give you 4,87,500. 4,87,500. I write the same number here. 4,87,500 in the outer column. And I will add up this. 4,87,500 plus 19,50,000 will be 24,37,500. So 24,37,500. I will call this as B. So let's give the name as B. That is after adding NCCD. Then countervailing duty is given at 30%. So countervailing duty at 30% on, I take B, small b. So value is 24,37,500 into 30%. 24,37,500 into 30%. So into 30% will be 7,31,250. So I record 7,31,250 in the amount column. So this is done now. So we'll have to add up all these numbers. 7,31,250 plus 4,87,500 plus 4,50,000. So I will get 16,68,750. 16,68,750. So 4,812. 448, 8 plus 7 is 15, 15,80, 1630, 1660, 1668, 750. That will be the value. Now, social welfare surcharge need not be given in the problem. As I mentioned, it is always 10% on BCD plus NCCD plus CVD. So I will get 16,68,750 750 into 10%. That will be 166,875. 1,66,875 will be the value. So I add up 16,68,750 plus 166,875. That will be 18,35,625. So 18,35,625 will be the value. That will be the total duty as we get A. This is before adding your special duties. Then safeguard duty is given in the problem. Add 15% is given. Since percentage is given, it will always be calculated on assessable value. So 15 lakh is the assessable value into 15%. It will be 2,25,000. So we have 15 lakh into 15% will be 2,25,000. That will be added to 18,35,625. So the B value, there is no other special duty given. It will be 20,60,625. 20,60,625. This is the B value that we have. Then there is IGST amounting to 28%. So IGST at 28%, 28% on assessable value plus B value. On assessable value plus B. So we will show the calculation here. We'll have assessable value. Assessable value is 15 lakh plus B value is 20,60,625. 625 into 28%. Into 28%. So this is the calculation. So 15 lakh plus 20 lakh, 50,625 into 28%. So total value would be 15 plus 20 is 35 lakh. Okay, we will add that. You will get 35,60,625. I will just write it here once again. It will be 35,60,625 into 28%. So 35,60,625 into 28% will be 9,96,975. 9,96,975. Then we are given with compensation cess. Compensation cess is calculated at 65% is given. At 65% on assessable value. Once again, assessable value plus B. So very important point that we have to note. Assessable value plus B is the value that is taken as far as calculation is concerned. As far as calculation is concerned. So let's do the calculation. It is once again 15 lakh plus 20 lakh 60,625, the B value, into 65%. Into 65%. So once again, the total is same as you have got for IGST. It is 35, 60, 625 into 65%. So 35,60,625 into 65%. So I'll take the value 35,60,625 into 65% will give you 23,14,406. 23,14,406. That will be the value. That is 65% of that. 23,14,606. And total customs duty payable will be 23,14,406 plus 9,96,975 plus 20,60,625. So that will give us 53,72,006. 53,72,006 will be the value as far as our calculation is concerned. So I hope this comprehensive problem on valuation of customs duty is clear. So this is the complete format of the valuation of customs duty as we have, and this is how we calculate. So this will necessitate me to take up another session where I solve comprehensive problems on customs duty, which I will be doing. So as far as this session is concerned, I have only this much. So thank you very much for your patient hearing. So as usual, I want you to subscribe to my channel. Do share with all the students and teachers who are learning this particular subject, and do comment as well. I'll be more than happy to clarify all the doubts. So thank you once again for your patient hearing, and see you all soon in the next episode where we will solve exclusively comprehensive problems on customs duty. So till then, thank you.